Welcome back, Fast and Furious fans. This is Let's Be Real Brad. Today we're going to be talking about the second installment in this Fast and Furious franchise, all the way up to F9, called Too Fast, Too Furious. It is directed by John Singleton and it stars Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson. For most Fast and Furious fans, this is considered the worst in the franchise, and I think the biggest reason for that is that you're missing Dominic Toretto. He was such a big character in that original film. It was about him and Brian O'Connor. And with how the original Fast and Furious movie ended, you wanted to see what was going to happen in this next one. But they decided to go a different route with this, and I think that's why Vin Diesel didn't sign on to this movie, being offered $25 million, because he realized that this movie probably wasn't going to be that good, and he was kind of right. My biggest problem with this movie is that this movie is just so bare bones and just straight to the point. There's no other storylines that are going on with this movie like we had in the first one. There's no stakes or complications with the characters. So let's just dive right into the positives first, and I'm going to start with the performances. Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson are what makes this movie really watchable and makes me want to go back to watch this movie. They have terrific chemistry on screen and they play these characters so damn well. Paul Walker delivers that positive, go-lucky attitude in this film again from the previous film, and he is just so likable and so lovable, and that's why he's one of the favorite characters in the Fast and Furious franchise. Then we enter in Roman Pierce, played by Tyrese Gibson, and he is easily the best character in this movie. I love how they actually kept this character and put him into the rest of the franchise, because he is easily one of my favorites. He is so likable, he is so funny, so charismatic, and his laugh is just outrageously funny. Then we have Tej Parker, who is played by Ludacris. That he has a small role in this movie, but later on in the film franchise, he actually does develop a more of a prominent role with this group, and so it's kind of nice to see him in his early origins of how they introduced him to the world, and he was just really fun to watch and pretty good in his role. The next positive I have with this movie is that it's shot very well. John Singleton, as you all know, is such a great director, and knowing that he wanted to do a Fast and Furious sequel, saying that I could do this, I can make this movie really fun, and he does his absolute best to do that. All the shots of this movie are really, really good, with being able to capture so many car racing scenes that almost feels like it was doubled from the last movie. I do think that this is some of the best racing that we do see in the whole franchise, that is so clear, with some great editing, and just being tons of fun all throughout the film. This movie also gets kind of crazy in moments of the movie, and I think he was able to excel that to 100% degree. One of my last positives I have is that I do think that the music is tons of fun, just like the first film. It's not as memorable as that first film with tons of awesome tracks, but it still adds that late 90s vibe that I got with the first movie, and it really puts into this movie with the warm orange colors and just being so bright and lively. It just makes this movie so much more fun with that. I also love the score in this movie that is just so cheesy, just like the first movie, but it reminds me so much of that nostalgic Fast and Furious arcade game that I don't know if you guys have ever played before, but it has the music straight from that, and I love it. So let's get in some of the negatives here, and we're gonna start with the writing. Unfortunately, most of the characters, if not all the characters, just have no arcs. They try to force in a little bit of a tiny arc to make you care about these characters, but unfortunately, if I would have just tried to tell you what their arc was, I think I would have a hard time doing so, because the movie doesn't really care about the character stuff and more about the action. But that is just what's lacking from this movie compared to the first one, where we did have character arcs, where we knew who these characters were. We had that nice emotional scene between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker in the original film. We don't really get that in this movie, and when they try to do that, it just goes away almost instantly. I also think some of the dialogue is really goofy, just like the last one. There's some hilarious one-liners, especially from Tyrese Gibson, but there's also some really cheesy lines that are just so late 1990s to 2000s that is so a product of its time, and I think it was probably cheesy then and it's more cheesy now. I also think that the story is just not as interesting as that first movie. There were so many complications and different situations that were going on in that first film, but this one just feels like a typical generic action movie that we've all seen before. I also think some of the technical qualities of this movie are pretty basic, as the cinematography is just like that basic looking action, late 90s, warm colored look that you come to expect just like the first film. Overall, I wish I had more to say about this movie, but unfortunately, this movie is the definition of average. Sure, there is some great performances, some good action sequences, and some hilarious dialogue, but the story and the writing is so lackluster and just feels so disposable. If you're really not into this franchise, this movie's gonna be so forgettable to you, and you're probably never gonna watch this ever again. I am giving Too Fast, Too Furious a 5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the following Fast and Furious review.